Welcome to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host, and thank you for downloading today's show. I'm excited to bring you today's show because the Hollywood producer, Tracey Edmonds, is now becoming a quick friend, and she and I have lots in common. We've spent many hours on the phone, and I really hope that you enjoyed today's show because she'll be back on many, many times. So today's show is brought to you by Health IQ. I have recently partnered with Health IQ to help those who want to have a nest egg there for the chance that something happens to them so they can protect their family. But maybe in your life and career and finances right now, you don't have that nest egg. But you are a health conscious person making efforts every day to live a more health conscious life. Because for those people doing that, you get rewarded by companies like Health IQ, who want to find you lower premiums on your term life insurance. They've got a free quote. They've got a health quiz that will tell you a lot about where you sit in terms of the level of health conscious and healthy that you are. I took the quiz and it was fascinating. And if you haven't heard, I did interview the CEO here a couple weeks ago, and it was a fascinating interview about how he started the company and why. So if you're at all intrigued, go back and find Rewarding the Health Conscious with Munjal, the CEO of Health IQ, and check it out. healthiq.com/SPE, like spirit, purpose, and energy. Again, that's healthiq.com/SPE. So another treat that I have for you today. Today is February 27th. It is the last Tuesday in February, and we have a few days before March, and I am going to gift you guys the opportunity to get in on the early bird special, which is only going to last for a month, for the next event called The Next Big Step. Go to jjflizanes.com/next big step. Again, that's jjflizanes.com/next big step. There's a payment plan. This early bird special is only available for 30 days. It will not be available come April 1st. Remember, there's already a fourth of the rooms sold out. I am limited on seating. If you are interested in the virtual ticket, of course, you can get that as well. And you can get that as late as right before the weekend starts. But that is always an option for you to get the same content. You won't have the same experience, of course, as being in the room live with us, making real connections and having that momentum that gets built up by being in the room. But which is amazing. So if you're interested in coming, I've created a 5-pay plan for you to make it easier in your pocketbook. And we have people sharing rooms, so it reduces the rate of the room, and it can be very easy. So this far ahead, if you know you want to come, definitely make that investment now, and you'll be very happy that you did. jjflizanes.com/next big step. On top of that, we also do have the sales page ready to go for releasing What Weighs You Down 2019. So maybe September's too soon for you, but you want to come to next January. It's the same size room, and we already have people signed up for that one as well, but you would be way ahead of the game if you wanted to get involved and sign up for that ticket as well. So you can go to releasingwhatweighyoudown.com, and we're going to be having another amazing event, which is going to be one more day longer than it was this first time around. So releasingwhatweighyoudown.com. And for those of you that are interested in the next Manifestation Challenge, it will be in May. If you have requested to join the Facebook group, but you were a little bit late in coming in, you probably haven't been accepted. And the reason is because we have this sort of community started, and I wanted to wait until, I gave you guys sort of a certain amount of time to get in. And then past that, I want to wait till we start it again new. So I will be allowing new people into the group starting at the end of April, but go ahead and sign up for it now if you think you want to be involved for the next 30-day challenge, which is in May. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's show. Today's show, Hollywood producer turned health advocate, is an interview with Tracey Edmonds. Tracey and I met back in December, and one of the things I found really fascinating is that the way that she gets positioned in the media is to talk about her past relationships. She's got a lot of famous exes and a famous current love, and they don't lead with how accomplished she is. First of all, she's a Stanford University graduate, and she's won numerous awards for contributions to the entertainment industry, including Ebony Magazine's Outstanding Women in Marketing and Communications Entrepreneur Award, the Volunteers of American Legacy of Leadership Award, the National Organization for Women's Excellence in Media Award, and more. She has created and produced groundbreaking projects for television, film, music, and digital media, and recently exited Extra TV, where she earned an Emmy. Her most recent projects include the new Celebrity Apprentice, and she was the host of BET's competition reality show Queen Boss. As a producer, Edmonds' projects include the hit series Dion's Family Playbook and the 3-time NAACP Image Award nominated With This Ring. So Tracy's done a lot of things, and I hope that you get that the scope of her knowledge as a producer, both in film and television, as well as what she's going to share with you today, is that she's a very serious, smart woman who's learned a lot and has a lot to offer. So welcome, Tracy, to the show.
Hey, JJ. Nice to be here.
I'm so excited that I finally get to have you on my show.
Yay.
For everyone listening who heard, Tracy just launched a brand new site called All Right Now, and I get the privilege of being one of the presenters for content on there. So now it's your turn to present content on here. But before we start that, I want people to get to know you, and I want them to know why you started All Right Now, what your background is, what your mission is, what you want to do with the site, with your career in that way, or how you want to affect people's lives. So why don't you take us back and just give us a little introduction to Tracy?
Ooh, lots of questions and lots of information to share. Well, okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my background in the industry has actually been entertainment. And so I've been known as a TV producer, a film producer, and then for the past 3 years, I was actually co-hosting an entertainment news show called Extra, along with Mario Lopez and Carissa Thompson. Now, what people don't know about me is that since I was about 25 years old, I have been a health and fitness nut. I've been, really, really obsessed with health and wellness and keeping myself healthy and mind, body, and spirit, as well as my kids and as many people as I can in my life. And so, JJ, my journey actually started again when I was about 25 years old in the health and wellness space, because my father unexpectedly had quadruple bypass heart surgery. And so I was 25 years old at the time. And, I remember getting the phone call that my father was in ER and, had a heart attack, and they didn't know if he was going to make it. And so they did this quadruple bypass heart surgery at the time. And so, up until the age 25, I was pretty thin, so I could eat whatever I wanted to, and I wasn't paying attention to what I was eating. And so I was just like, okay, well, I don't really have a weight issue, so that means I can just eat whatever the heck I want to eat. And so I was eating, fast foods, burgers, burritos. I love Mexican food, whatever I wanted to eat, processed foods, whatever I wanted to eat. And I had no idea the potential health consequences it could have on the body. And so when my father had quadruple bypass heart surgery, that's when, I really started asking questions. And I remember asking the doctor, well, how did this happen? How did his arteries get clogged? And so I start learning about, cholesterol and how cholesterol can block your arteries. And I started reading more and more and more on health issues and what causes health issues, for example, high blood pressure and cholesterol issues and the things that my dad was actually going through. And what I discovered that a lot of it was caused by lifestyle choices and by the choices that we make and what we put into our bodies. And so a lot of us, are not eating healthy, and I wasn't eating healthy at the time, and I'm just feeding my body with whatever I wanted to, and not realizing that I wasn't feeding it nutrients. I was feeding it bad things and feeding it, empty calories, and that if I continued to do that, I could end up going down the same road as my father and having health issues. So at 25, I made this vow that I was going to eat healthy, change my outlook on fitness and health, and really learn as much as I could. So that, JJ, I know it's a long story, but that started my my journey where I started eating really, really healthy, feeding my body with wonderful things and lots of vegetables and protein and supplements. I started exercising and doing yoga and cardio, and that really transformed my life. So since 25, I've learned so much over the years. And all of this, in this chapter of my life is where I just really want to share as much information as I can with people to, really allow them to lead, healthy lives and to be the best versions of themselves. And so that's really kind of what made me decide to start All Right Now.
But at 25 is when this happened and you started to learn, but at what point did you get the idea to have the website and to make it a bigger mission?
Well, one of the things too that I'd like to share was, really this past year in my life has been the most challenging year of my life. In the span of 1 year, I lost my mother and I lost my father. And, I come from a really small family. So it was just my mom, dad, and a brother who's 2 years younger. And, even though my parents were divorced, we were all really, really close. And so my lifestyle, prior to a year ago was to, talk to my mom, like 8 times a day and usually, have lunch with her, she'd come by the house. My father, same thing. And I lost my mom a year ago of mesothelioma cancer. And then she also had 2 blood diseases. And so going through that journey, with her for about 2 years, prior to her transition, was really, really rough for me. And so during that time period, I spent, when I wasn't working, my life was at work or in a hospital. And so I was actually, as soon as I'd finish work every day, I'd go to the hospital and, be by her side and be talking to the doctors. And so while I was going through all that with my mom, I learned more and more about cancer. And so I learned more and more. Now, my mom had a rare form of cancer that's caused by asbestos exposure, but I learned a lot about all forms of cancer and the things that contribute to cancer. Again, putting bad things in your body, not eating right. Cancer loves and feeds off of sugar. And so I learned things like that. I learned what supplements and what, things that we can put in our body that will help prevent cancer and keep cancer at bay. And so, there's some wonderful supplements, which, we can talk about later, like turmeric, that and broccoli and blueberries that, have antioxidants and, have, wonderful things in them that can help keep cancer at bay. So I learned a lot more about that as well. So sadly enough, after having to say goodbye to my mother a year ago, this past September, the heart issue finally caught up to my father. And so my father was by my side during my whole journey with having to say goodbye to my mom. And I thought he was in great shape. I thought he was healthy and going strong and that I wouldn't have to worry about him. And unexpectedly, in the middle of the night in this past September of 2017, he passed away and he had a heart attack. And so I had to say goodbye to him in September. So having to deal with, the loss of both of my parents, due to health issues, really, really gave me the passion for launching this All Right Now website. And it really helped me heal because, after my father passed, I just had it in my head and in my spirit that this was the time to launch this website. And so I announced in September that we were going to launch the website January 1st, which didn't give me much time, but I just was on a mission because I really felt in my spirit that, at the top of the year was the time to start this health and wellness chapter of my life and to start sharing information because, again, my goal in life is to help as many people as I can now. And so, so from September through December 31st, I was literally working as many hours a day as I could, writing articles for All Right Now. I think I wrote about 60 articles, gathering helpful articles, informative articles from other guest contributors, collecting videos, from some of my colleagues in the health and wellness space. And JJ, thank you for all of your content and wonderful videos. And so it was really a labor of love, like kind of reaching out to other people in the health and wellness community and saying, hey, I'm launching this health and wellness site because I want to help as many people as I can. Can you allow me to share information, some of your information with others? So we end up launching All Right Now with I think we had about 490 articles and, probably 100 videos. But the site is really designed, again, to help everyone be the best version of themselves. And it doesn't just stop at health and wellness. Like we have different categories to help someone balance their lives. And so we have Be Healthy, which is all about being, as healthy, body wise, as you can. And we have a lot of natural medicine articles in there. We have Be Fit, which is all about keeping your body fit. So we have a lot of fitness and yoga articles and information there. We have Relate, which is all about like relationships. And so everything that I do on the site is really coming from a very testimonial, personal space. And so anything that's on the site, especially the articles and things that are coming from me, really coming from experiences that I've had in my own journey, testimonials, things that I've learned, challenges that I've faced, and I'm sharing what worked, what didn't work, what did I learn, all in these articles. So Relate, we have things to help you. We have relationship tools, so things to help you in your love life, things to help you with parenting, things to help you with in the friendship space. We also have a category called Succeed. So, which is where we have motivational articles to get you motivated, inspired every day. And we also have career tools to help you be as successful, as you can in, with your career aspirations. And then finally, like our fun category is called Escape. And so, so we believe in a balanced life, and again, I practice what I preach, and so I believe in working hard and playing hard, and so you have to have something, to balance your life, and all work and no play is not good. And so our Escape section talks about travel destinations and dining out and spas and things that you can do to help keep your spirit uplifted, as well. Oh, and that's one thing that I also forgot to mention is that in our Relate section, we also talk about mindfulness. And so really kind of being in touch with your own self, spiritually. So we have a lot of articles on that. So I know it sounds like a lot, but it's all some amazing tools to help our readers and viewers, again, be the best version of themselves and lead happy and balanced lives.
I love it. And it's very similar to the work I already do in terms of I offer all of those similar things on all the different shows that I do. And the original Fit to Love was a 6-day-a-week show, and it had each one of those sections of exercise and nutrition and wellness in general and aging and relationships and mindfulness and psychology and emotions and spirituality. And so all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I'm in alignment. I totally get it because it's about the package. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's about the package. Yeah, I'm with you 100% on all of the holistic approach, because too many people just focus on one piece, and usually that one piece is because they want a certain result, but it's not that one piece that's stopping them from getting that result.
I so agree with you. And I really believe, all of us, I think the most important thing in life is peace. And in our strive for peace, I really believe that you have to be balanced in all of those areas that we talked about. You have to have, calm in your relationships and calm in the career space and keep your body healthy and nourished. And so I believe all that's important for our peace in life.
So out of all the things that you've learned over the years now, and I don't know what you address, I have not been to the part on your site that deals with anything sort of spiritual. I know you said there's mindfulness. Do you have spiritual things as well, or different positions on spirituality? Do you have anything like that?
Well, you know what? I take on the side and in life, I'm a Christian and I believe in God, but on the site, I think it's important to respect, everyone's, religious beliefs. And I think most of us out there at least agree that there's a higher being out there. And so for me, my spirituality is staying close to, the God that I believe is a higher being. But also too, I believe that we can find our own personal higher being within ourselves. And that's where, for me, my meditation practice, comes in. And so I try to meditate at least once a day. And for me, everyone has their own schedules and you have to kind of figure out what works best for you. But for me, at the end of the day, is where I like to meditate and find peace and calm. And again, we all have different beliefs, but that's when I believe I'm connecting to my higher self, through my meditation practice. And so for me, even if I can find 10 minutes to just kind of get into, my meditative, position and just have some quiet and calm and close my eyes and, focus on, my breathing and stuff, it puts me into a nice, calm, peaceful space where I'm kind of able to go into what I call, my inner being, my inner self, and really connect with my higher self, and also to, my God, and really, I kind of go into a deep space where I'm able to kind of just, put everything that's going on in my life into a calm, peaceful perspective. And a lot of times, and everyone's experiences are different, but a lot of times through my meditation, I'm able to, almost kind of, help, solve any problems or challenges that, that I may face. I'm in a calm space, and sometimes, solutions come to me, when I'm in that space. And for me, that practice is just really, really great because it de-stresses me at the end of the day. It starts calming me down and preparing me for evening, and getting me ready for the fact that I'm going to be going to sleep in a couple of hours. And it's just a nice practice to have. And so that's my spiritual daily practice.
Good. Well, that sounds very balanced and healthy, and I agree 100%. To me, spirituality is also somewhat scientific to me. I mean, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
everything that I believe is something I can prove. So, even in a higher power way,
Yeah. Yeah.
even in a metaphysical way. So, the reason I ask that is because as I go into this next question, I wanted you to think about sort of a twofold question, like the top three most important things that you've learned over the last 15, 20 years with what's been going on with your parents is sort of where I want to go. But it's in relationship to if they would have done something different. I had a client this morning, we were talking about healthcare, and I'm not a political person and I don't even know what all the policies are, but we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about his wife and how she's had a lot of disability, and how certain things are covered, certain things aren't, and all the different policy issues. And it struck me funny because I compared it to, and I'm not trying to be insensitive for any of you that are listening to this. I don't I do not subscribe to a victim mentality. And what that means is I don't believe things happen randomly. I do not believe that something bad just happens and there was no reason for it, or you didn't attract it in some way, or it wasn't part of a divine plan and your sacred contract, so to speak, in this lifetime that you might have put together before you even came here. So for me, there's a bit of personal responsibility that I like to have people accept, because it's really where your power comes from. If you're a victim in any situation, you really have nothing you can do about it. You can fight back, but you'll always feel victimized. So in the aspect of your parents, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I can't even imagine how
Oh,
painful
yeah.
that
Right.
that was and is still, I'm sure, because it's still
Yeah.
so new, right? And
It's still
especially
fresh. Yeah.
right. And I talk to my mother all the time. And so I
Yeah.
get that. And I see my parents. I mean, they don't live close by, but I do talk to them and see them on a regular basis as much as I can. And I love them dearly. And so I can't even imagine. With that said, and that's why I asked about the spirituality as a
Mm-hmm.
preset to this question, I believe, I trust that sometimes when things happen, so let's say when you were 25 and your dad had a heart attack for the first time, we make choices and sometimes we attract these big things in our lives to help us change our path, to help us get
Sure.
clear about things we need to do. And sometimes people follow through with that and sometimes they don't. And So it's if you believe that everything happens in a divine and perfect order and this is all supposed to be happening for a bigger reason, then in essence there really was nothing different that anybody might have done because this was all a divine plan. That's just one. So I want to put that out there because I do believe
Mm-hmm.
that's part of it. Now, on the flip side, if there are things that you looked back and saw, behaviors, choices, feelings, repressions, chemicals, whatever, drugs, what if you had to pick a few things, would you be able to, or would you say, had you done this, this, and this, the outcome might have been different?
Well, I mean, I can say that, it's really interesting that you say that kind of everything happens for a reason, and I go back and I kind of look at little clues along the way and kind of say, okay, possibly, all of the, unfortunate tragedies that I had, by losing both of my parents and stuff, if I were to get anything positive out of it, maybe it's because I'm meant to do what I'm doing right now, which is help others, in the health and wellness space. Now, going back to when I was 25 and, lost my dad, I'm sorry, when I was 25 and, my dad had the quadruple bypass heart surgery. Yeah, there were definite choices that I was making back then that could have led me down, a negative health path, and so, again, I shared with you guys that I was just kind of eating junk food and just, not, paying attention to what I was putting into my body and stuff. And had my dad not had that quadruple bypass heart surgery, I could have continued to, to do the same thing, for the next 25 years and ended up with health issues. And, JJ, I'm sure you and I, and whether it's in this segment or another future segment, we can go really, really deep in terms of, I don't know, your philosophy on pharmaceuticals and all of this, but we can go really deep into this issue. But I don't put any pharmaceuticals in my body whatsoever. So one of the things in my journey, when I got into health and wellness, is that, the more research that I did, the more I uncovered how bad it is to put chemicals and things that are not from this earth, into your body. And so a lot of the pharmaceuticals and the over-the-counter drugs and the prescription drugs that a lot of people take out there have so many detrimental qualities that can actually hurt your body as well, which is why you see in a lot of those pharmaceutical commercials, you'll see all the side effects, which are crazy. Like sometimes I'm, looking at those commercials, side effects include
Death.
Suicidal thought. Yeah.
And death. Okay, I laugh every time. I'm like, seriously?
Right?
And is anybody watching this and listening? It include death. Death is on the.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not the only person that's noticing that.
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, yeah, I'm watching this. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. I'm not putting any of that stuff into my body. And so, JJ, I'm going to knock on wood and I'm going to just say, thank you, God. I haven't had a cold or a flu in 20 years, and, I thank God and knock on wood, or whatever, but I don't put chemicals in my body. And I really believe that if you treat your body right, that you're going to build your immune system and that it's going to fight off a lot of the things that may come its way, because, your body's going to be that much stronger from, the nutrients that you put in it. And so I'm like looking at all these, flu shot vaccines and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like going, well, thank you, God, but I haven't had a flu or a cold in 20 years. And I don't put the vaccines, in my body, and I don't put the chemicals and the pharmaceuticals in my body or whatever. And so that's one of the main things, that I've learned along the way. And actually, it's really, really worked for me. Like keeping the chemicals and the toxins out of my body has really, really worked for my immune system and kept me really strong. I mean, sadly enough, like with the, the health and wellness journey that I've been on for the past 25 years, I have tried to, share my thoughts with, my family members and, my kids are finally starting to get hip. But it's like, early on, and I'm sure you probably encountered this, like when you try to give people little health tips, like, oh, mom or dad, please don't eat that. That's really bad for you. And, you tell them why it's bad for them. They just kind of like look at you like, oh, you're just this crazy health nut and you don't know what you're talking about, or whatever. But one of the things that was really sad for me that I kind of learned after the fact, as I shared with you, was that I learned how bad sugar is for anyone that has cancer, because the cancer cells eat the sugar and they nourish and they multiply from sugar. And that is like scientific. That's been well documented. And but doctors, a lot of our doctors, they don't share that information, with people at all. And so when my poor mom was going through her cancer journey, she was drinking sweet iced tea like crazy. And her body was just craving sweet iced tea. And she would just make pitchers and pitchers of sweet iced tea and just kept drinking it. And it was so hard for me, as her daughter, because I kept trying to say, Mom, please, honey, please don't do that. I was like, the cancer cells, they eat sugar, and, it's going to just escalate things. And then her doctor didn't really share that information, with her and stuff. And so it's sometimes it's really hard to kind of, get others to kind of, take you seriously and listen, to a lot of the information that we're trying to share and stuff. But, a lot of it, it is backed by scientific studies, but they're just not sharing the studies with the general public, so that's some of the things that I've learned away and some, along the way. But, my goal now is just to share as much of this information as I can.
Well, I love it, and I'm completely on board, and I want to continue this conversation because I want to share more on more of an emotional level for others, and to hear the journey that you've gone through as well as the things that you've learned. I'm with you 100%. I don't do vaccines. I don't do flu shots. I don't support any of that. And
Great.
I'm one of my podcasts is called Nutrition and Alternative Medicine
I love it.
for the sheer fact that our bodies are meant to heal themselves. So when you put your body in a optimal state and environment, because we all have cancer cells.
Yes.
Whether or not they express themselves is the environment you put them in. And that environment is everything from what you put in your mouth to what you think in your head to what you feel in your body. So it's that whole package, which is why you're doing the whole package, which is why I offer the whole package, because it is about the whole package. And I know people who eat, let's say, super clean and organic and perfect, in whatever realm, because of course then we can debate that between keto and paleo and vegetarian and vegan and right. But that aside, let's say somebody eats extremely organic and super clean, but yet they're full of negative toxic thoughts and they're full of repressed anger. Well, that can equal cancer just as fast as a cigarette. So to me, there's a balance of, it's not just about the health stuff. The health has to include the mental and emotional piece, because lots of toxicity comes from how we feel about ourselves. And like you were saying about sharing, we can't, you're a rescuer, like I'm a rescuer. There's the rescue, we start out, but there's the rescuers, the victims, and the persecutors. And this is sort of a psychology about how we show up in our family dynamics and some of the lessons that we need to learn along the way. And for those of us that are rescuers, part of the lesson is to be an example and to, open your heart, but accept that people are on their path and that they're going to either want to include you or they're not. And luckily for me, my father asks me from time to time when I make recommendations about taking things. He used to question me more like, well, who told you this? Or how'd you find this? not in a negative disbelieving kind of way, just in a I want to know kind of way. And when they were out here last year for my book launch for the last book that I wrote, in May, I took them through a slew of blood work and doctor's appointments, and they had acupuncture, and they had a inherited emotional DNA clearing emotionally. So we went all over the place. And what was really cool was that Dr. Peters, the functional medicine physician that I work with, after he was done with them, my father now calls me for everything and says, okay, Dr. JJ, or, so I got, it's from every level I got validated, at least for him. And my mother, she doesn't question me anymore, but she doesn't listen either. So, so at least I know I've established my credibility with my parents that while I'm not a doctor, I've been doing this work long enough that I know a lot of things. And it comes down to choice. You mentioned about drugs and Western medicine in terms of pharmaceuticals. Most people don't realize there are 15, 20, 30 different kinds of cancer treatments that are natural that this government doesn't support. And some of it's free, and it can reverse cancer. And sugar, not only does sugar create cancer, but so does every carbohydrate you eat, because starchy carbohydrates turn to sugar. So people want to say, it's just white table sugar. No, it's starchy carbohydrates, high in carbs, reduce down to sugar. They reduce down to the same exact thing white table sugar does. So
You are absolutely right. And you know what? Just to add to what you just said a second ago about the natural cures for cancer, there are things that are working that unfortunately our government and the medical industry is not sharing, but that are working in other countries as normal daily practice for curing cancer. Like I can tell you, from a testimonial space that I've seen the effects of vitamin C. And so my mother had, two large tumors in her stomach from mesothelioma. And we were told that mesothelioma, there's absolutely no cure at all for it. And so, including chemotherapy, radiation, nothing helps. So we did some experimental stuff. And so we did try high dosages of vitamin C, and the high dosages of vitamin C was actually working. She was getting IVs done. They actually shrank the tumors by 40%.
Wow.
Over a couple months. And they were actually documenting the success of what the vitamin C was doing with the tumors. The sad thing is that I was sharing with you guys that unfortunately we weren't only battling mesothelioma, we were battling two blood diseases at the same time. So she had MPD and MDS. And while we were, seeming like we had at least some promise and optimism shrinking these tumors, her blood diseases continued to take over her body. And so we were giving her blood transfusions every day to keep her alive towards the end. And so we never had a chance to see the full effect of what the vitamin C would have done. But I can tell you, JJ, it was actually shrinking the tumors.
Would you be open to, and it's totally cool if you're not, I've got a book. It's called Messages from the Body, and it's the emotional root of all disease and problems, basically all physical things that happen.
I'm so on that same wavelength.
Okay.
So what's the ask? What were we going to ask?
Well, I was going to ask if you'd be interested in hearing what it had to say about all the different conditions of both of your parents, or of any other condition that somebody has.
Yes, and I just love the fact that you and I have connected, because like the more that comes out of your mouth, I'm like, okay, she's hip, she's on the same wavelength that I am, because one of the things that you mentioned a while ago, unfortunately, and it sounds terrible to say this, to say that negative emotional energy can attract disease, but I really believe it. And so negative emotional energy, I really believe, is toxic to the body. And I believe it breaks down the body. And you can even see how stress breaks the body down. Like, when we're under stress, that's a lot of times when we start catching colds and, and all that kind of stuff. And, so if stress can affect the body, the body's physical condition, then I believe emotion can, as well. And, and I will say this again, because I'm coming from a personal and testimonial space on all this. I can say, unfortunately, my mother, rest in peace, had a lot of, anger issues sometimes, and so she was very high strung emotionally, and, would, have a quote, extra reaction to everything. And so like, a lot of the things that would happen in her life, wouldn't be received with a peaceful solution or whatever. Everything had a high emotional impact on her, where, she'd kind of rebel back to something with anger, or whatever. And so I really believe that her emotions also were very toxic, to her body. And again, as her daughter, like I try to talk to her, through some of these issues. And it wasn't just, it's with a lot of aspects of her life and things, and try to, see if I could get her to kind of come from a more grounded, more peaceful, perspective on how she was handling things. But I wasn't, able to kind of get her all the way there. And so I believe that a lot of those types of things also broke her body down.
Absolutely. And I'll read it either off air, or we'll do it in the next section, the next show that we do together. And it was just out of respect, because some people don't believe that. And I didn't want to disrespect if that was where you were coming from. And it's not to say that again, this wasn't the exact right thing that was supposed to happen. It's to me, I always look at what other energies are at play when we're looking
Yes.
when we're looking at healing, because we can take the best physical efforts possible, but if we're not cleaning up
Right.
the energetic emotional body, then we're not going to we're going to go 3 steps forward and 2 or 3 steps back. So
Right. No, you're right.
So Tracy, we're obviously going to have you back on the show because this conversation has just gotten started. And I think that anyone who's listening who is at all intrigued or has a similar story, or you want to learn from Tracy's research over the last however many years it's been since you were 25, I think definitely come over and you'll see yours truly on some of the videos. And I did provide some other written content, and I've got tons of stuff. So as long as you keep wanting it, I'll keep giving it to you.
Oh,
And,
I want.
Okay. Okay. Well, so tell people again, and is there anything they should do? Like, they're going to come to the site, and is there anywhere to like subscribe maybe, or do they want you to follow them on social media? Is there an All Right Now social media platform?
Okay, so for those of you that want to learn how to live a happy, healthy, balanced life and be balanced in mind, body, and spirit, please check us out at allrightnow.com. And so let me spell it out for you. So it's ALRIGHTNOW.com. So allrightnow.com. And also follow us on social media at Instagram and on Twitter. And let me spell this out for you. So it's at ALRIGHTNOWHQ. So All Right Now HQ. So follow us there on Twitter and social media as well. So, and thank you guys for supporting us.
Thank you, Tracy, for being on the show. You'll be back soon, everyone. If you have any questions that you'd like Tracy to address or for us to talk about, please feel free to send me an email through any of the social media channels that you're already connected to, or an email if you're on my list. And we'll definitely have Tracy back. Go check out All Right Now. Tracy, thank you for being here.
Thank you, JJ.
And as a reminder, today's show was brought to you by Health IQ. Make sure to go take your test and get your free quote at healthiq.com/SPE.